What if this time they'll actually tell me for life? Welcome back, everybody. My name is Evan Manzo, and you're watching What the Heck News. Now, as we mentioned before, we have a very special treat for you. Sorry, I can't speak today. I just had some things going on at home. My wife just left me. But anyways, right here we have Jeanette Walls. Okay? She is the author of The Glass Castle, and like we said, we have an interview with her. So, let's see, you let me
Hello
grab
everyone, it's a pleasure to be here.
Alright, now, Jeanette, the way we do it here on the show is that we ask you a series of personal questions that, are personal and sort of like,
Was that in the original agreement?
Is her lawyer here? No? Of course not, but we're doing it anyways. Okay, so those types of things would include things like challenges you faced, feeling towards others, lessons you've learned along the way, things of that nature. Is that alright with you?
Of course. I wouldn't really be here if I didn't agree to be on the show.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anyways, like we were saying, are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
Alright, first question. So, at the beginning of your memoir, you wrote, "I was on fire." Could you give us a first-hand explanation of what that meant?
Well, as I had shown in the book, this happened during the Great Hot Dog Incident. The Great Hot Dog Inferno, as known in my family. I was cooking hot dogs when we were still doing the old skedaddle, and I was literally on fire. But I guess you could say it was an emotional fire as well, because that incident is one of the things that helped me become independent, and shaped me to who I am today.
Thank you for your excellent clarification. And in my opinion, I 100% agree with what you're saying, that something like that would definitely be able to mold and shape you. Like glass. Now, there was also another section where you stated that your father have said, if you don't want to sink, you better figure out how to swim. Do you think that the way he taught you that lesson was appropriate?
Was it appropriate to do with a little girl? Of course not. But the lesson itself taught me to be who I am and independent. And if I didn't want to be thrown back into the water in real life, that I needed to learn to swim and be able to fend for myself. My dad always liked me. There was a section where I was in the hospital, and I had asked my sister if they missed me at home. She said no, that they were busy, but my father said, "Lori may not miss you, honey bunch, but I sure do. You shouldn't be in this antiseptic joint." He always did care for me, even if he had weird ways of showing it.
Well, that's an excellent lesson to learn early. Not the way that he taught it to you, obviously. No, that was really, really bad. But, now moving on a little bit, from the way that you wrote about your mother and your sister Lori, it seemed that they had similar beliefs in their independency. For example, on page 46, you wrote about your mother saying that she's a grown woman now, and that every morning she would always say the same thing, and she would always be like, "Why can't I do whatever I want to do?" And Lori saying on page 146, "I'll never get out of here." Lori kept saying, "I'll never get out of here," which relates to her wanting to be free. Could you explain if you thought that they have similar beliefs?
Well, I would say that they had similar beliefs regarding to that. Lori would almost always sympathize with my mother. The two were close, and Lori would often blame our father for all the mistakes and tears in our family. Most likely, that's why it's that close relationship. That's why she's like she is today.
Well, that wouldn't be surprising at all, right? Mothers and parents always have a way of, rubbing off a lot on their children.
Yes, of course.
Now, if we may, could we move on to the topic mainly about your father?
Okay. All right, I'm fine with that.
Alright. Now, during the book, you made many references to your father's attitude and personality not being a good one for the most part. There was a quote that read, "I wanted to let the world know that no one had a perfect life, that even the people who seemed to have it all had their secrets. And don't worry, God understands," Mom said. "He knows that your father is a cross we must bear." In your opinion, was your father more of a help or a hurt?
Well, my father loved me, even though he didn't always show it in the ways that we hoped. He did have his own problems, but he always looked out for all of us. I remember the time where we were just gazing at the stars and the planet Venus, and he would just talk about them, still giving me advice. It was something so beautiful. It was something that I could rely on. He showed me what it meant to become independent.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Walls, for your time, but it seems that ironically we've run out of time.
Oh, the pleasure was all mine.
Now, we'll be right back after these commercials with a new story. Scientist discovers that Shrek memes can help increase span by 50%. We'll be right back in a jiffy. Are we done recording this time? For real? Are you sure?
We good?
Okay, we good?
We
All
good,
right.
right?
All right.
Okay.
Well, all right. Thanks again, Jeanette, for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Giving the time and everything. Yeah. Well,
So
anyways.
let me ask you, what do you think about my book? What do you think of the message that it sends?
Well, I think your book was actually very inspirational. I didn't get to read all of it. It was from the bits I did get to read. It was really, really good.
Well, as my dad would always say, that's God's honest truth. My book was a lot better than that random Harry Potter thing, right? It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
That random Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Stop.
Windows Movie Maker. We should make some movies.